Hi everyone, this is Azum. Today I am going to talk about the application architecture. So how the application architecture has evolved from one tier, two tier, and now to the three tier and n tier architecture. Okay, so let's look at the one tier architecture, which was there initially. In the one tier architecture, basically what happens is like everything runs within the system. Okay, let's say this is the system, and you have your entire application sitting within the machine. Okay, the entire application sitting within the same machine, and if you want to run this in n number of machines, you need to install that application in n number of machines to run that. So that's the single tier architecture. So in the single tier, it's basically a machine based initially. So in the initial days, it was like a machine based application. That means the application which you have compiled here should run only on that machine. So that is where we were at the beginning of the days, and then that has evolved, and as the technology has evolved, there was a need for a portability. There was a need for the portability of the application. That's where the exes, the jar files that came into picture. Okay, so how this portability has achieved is like there are various softwares evolved in the market. Like if you consider the Java, okay, if you consider Java language, it runs in a JVM, okay, a Java virtual machine. And you develop the program in the Java language, and once you have that code, it can run on any JVM, wherever the JVM is available. So the JVM is like a platform independent virtual machine. So it's a Java virtual machine is like a platform independent, so it can run on any OS. So you just need to install the Java software, and that creates the Java virtual environment, and whatever the application that you have developed, you should be able to run on any machine. So that has basically initially bring the portability. And same case as the exe files. In the Windows systems, you see like a number of exe files. So the exe files you can run from any machine as long as you have those .exe binaries. So in the one tier architecture, you had machine based, and then the technology evolved into the portability. When the portability came into the picture, that's where the other technologies, I mean the other architectures have evolved. So that's like a two-tier architecture. So here what happens is like the people started running the application from a source, and it has a number of clients connects to that. Okay, so let's say this is client 1, client 2, client 3, and client 4. So you have your source at one machine, and the clients installed in a number of machines, and you should be able to run the application which is available at the source. So that is where the usability and the reachability has increased from running on individual machines to running using the clients. So using the clients, you still need something to be installed here to access the source and run that application. So there should be some software installed, which is a client software installed here on each client to connect to the source application and run the particular application. So we have now moved from the single tier where everything is running from the individual machine into source and client mode of accessing the application. That has further developed into okay, first we will talk about the two-tier application. So in the two-tier application, basically what we have done is we have separated the application and the database. So the user interacts with the application, and the application interacts with the database and retrieves the data back into the application, and application processes the data and sends the response back to the user. So this is the request and this is the response you get to the user. So this is a two-tier architecture. So why the two-tier architecture has evolved is that when it was like a machine-based or even the portable application, you have everything running in the same machine, right? So if that machine has a problem or a disaster, then you are not able to, you are going to lose everything along with that machine. So that's where the data is critical. The application you can develop at a later stage, but whatever the data you have is critical. So the technology evolved that they have separated the database from the application. That means if the application fails, the server which hosts the application fails, you still have your database available. So it's like avoiding the single point of failure. So that's where the two-tier architecture has evolved. When the two-tier architecture has evolved, at the time you already have LAN available. So what people have started is using the LAN. People started using the connecting to the application which runs into the application and database. So how they have connected is using the invention of HTTP and the HTTPS protocols. So HTTP protocol is a internet-based protocol which sends the request to a particular application, and whatever the application gives the response, it handles to the browser. So HTTPS is a internet protocol which will be accessed through the browser. So that's where the web applications have evolved. So till now we were not having the web applications, and with the invention of HTTP and HTTP protocols, that's the internet protocol, you are able to access the application using the browser. Okay, so that's where the web applications came into picture. And when the web applications, you can configure, the application you can access, the user can access the application using the HTTP and HTTPS protocols, and this you can give some domain name or URL name. With that you can access the application. That's how the traditional applications became into web applications which can be accessed through through HTTP protocol. There are two things here. How you are now able to access is, one is the intranet, that's what initially came, and then internet. So intranet is like you give some URL, and that URL has connectivity within that LAN, and within that LAN, whatever the systems they are connected, they should be able to access that URL. Okay, so that's intranet application. And then with the development of internet, it has extended to internet connectivity. That is, we can access over web. So that's where the complete web application has evolved. So initially it was not web application, it was like an intranet site. That means within the company you should be able to access wherever that LAN is extended. And then when the WAN came into the picture, and the internet came into picture, that's where it purely became the web application. That means you can access the application wherever you are running using internet through HTTP and HTTPS URLs. So that's the two-tier architecture. So till now we discussed like how we were in the one tier, the machine based to the portability, and then the segregation of application and database. And once the internet applications came into picture, the security has become a threat or critical for the applications. So that's where the three-tier architecture has evolved. So when the security becomes a threat, because you are accessing your applications using internet, and it has a lot of risk for the web applications and to your data. So that's where the three-tier architecture has evolved. So what they have done is, this time the user interacts with the application in the two-tier. This time they have divided a layer called web layer. So the user has control or access to only the web layer, and the web layer interacts with the app layer, and the app layer interacts with the DB layer. So user sends the request, it reaches to the web layer, and web layer is strictly controlled, and the filtered traffic or the secured traffic will be routed to your application, and application talks to the database, and database talks back to the application, and application sends the response back to the web, and web sends the response back to the user. So this is where the three-tier architecture has evolved. It's the most secured way of having your web application over internet. So user interacts with your web layer, and then the application layer and DB layer is same as in the two-tier architecture which was there earlier, but a web layer is introduced to minimize or handle the security of your web application. So what is there in the web application which is preventing your security or data theft? So as you already know, like web servers, they will be like there will be firewalls within the company which allows like only the registered traffic into the web layer. Like if you see, there will be number of devices like firewalls, and then you have load balancers, and also generally what the web layer now the technology is, they harden the web layer. So hardening of the web layer. So with this way, what you do is you are restricting your traffic, and you are controlling the traffic which hits your application. That's how you are having a secured way of interacting with your application, with your customers or with your users. So hope now you are clear like how the technology has evolved from one tier up to the current three-tier architecture. So initially we were machine based, and then the portability came into picture, and then the source and client mode of connectivity came into picture, and then it is divided into a two-tier architecture where the application and the data layer has been separated, and then into the three-tier based on the security reasons you introduced another layer which is a web layer. So the web layer is controlled with various tools like firewalls, load balancers and hardening. So load balancers is like for the distributing the traffic for heavy applications. Like if you consider Amazon.com, Amazon.com is heavily used across the globe, across the over the clock, right? So it will be like a heavy usage of the application, and one web server or one application server is not able to handle. So what they do is like they have multiple web servers and multiple application servers and multiple database servers, and they will be load balanced. Whatever the traffic that it comes to the Amazon.com will be redirected or distributed within the web servers, and web servers decide like which application is free based on the traffic, and then it interacts to the database. So it is like you are balancing or you're serving the request to the application with the available resources. And as you have more and heavy traffic, you introduce more resources like more web servers, more app servers and more DB servers, so that you serve all the required traffic, and that is that can be achieved using the load balancers. Okay. Now I'll take an example of a simple application, and then I will fit this into all the two tiers. Okay. So let's say attendance management for our team. Okay. Okay. So attendance management for the team. Let's say we are a team of 35 members, right? So we are a team of 35 members and we need the attendance to be recorded on every day. Let's say we are attending the DMH, okay? So the attendance I need to take based on who is present today and who is absent, and if present, who is working from home or who is working from the office. So that's my criteria. And in a traditional way, I can achieve this using the Excel. Okay, this Excel, I can say it is a one-tier architecture because you have that program. Excel is a program, and that program is installed in your machine, and you can use that Excel and input the data. You have those 35 members, and every day you will put a checkbox yes or no in against all the team members. Okay. So using the attendance management, using Excel, I would say it is a one-tier architecture. And now, let's say I want this Excel to be available to all the team members. So how I can do that? So as of now, whoever is having that Excel and maintaining that Excel can access this. But when it comes to, if I need to give access, that's where a shared location is required, right? So we can use either PCB or box, right? If I put that in the box and I can add the people, the team members into that, so that's where it is fitting into the source and client method of connectivity. So the PCB or box you store here, and then you can give access to team member 1, 2, 3 like that, right? So this is the source and client method of connectivity. So the Excel you have stored into the box, and you are adding the user access, and each user from their PC, they can connect to the box and view that Excel online or download that Excel and use that. So that is the source and client mode of connectivity. And now I will give you how this is fit into the two-tier architecture. Let's say this data is very critical for the management or leadership, whatever on a yearly basis or monthly basis or over the last 5 years. So if this Excel is correct, you will lose everything, right? You will lose the data, and you don't have any alternative for retrieving that data unless you have stored in somewhere. Let's say that the complete Excel, all the copies that you have stored, everything is corrupted and you will lose that data. So for that reason, if I have a database, to store these records like against the team members, and every day if I update the database, let's say any database, so you have MS Access is one database, the SQL Server you can use, Oracle you can use. So we will just use the enterprise ones, okay? So MS Access or SQL Server or Oracle. So if you have a database, you can store this data, and that database is securely hosted somewhere, let's say in the IBM cloud, okay? So you have that data, and even if your Excel is correct, you still can get the data from your database, okay? So when I am having a database, why I want to have the Excel? So why can't I build an application and make it either intranet or internet? I can do that, right? So I'll build an application, simple program, like let's say if you want to use Excel itself, okay? So I'll build a VB script from the Excel, and whatever the data you input, and I will have some button like update database. So when the data is updated, I'll click on that button, update database, and that goes and updates into the MS Access database. If we are planning to use the Excel itself, or I can use some Java or .NET application. Okay, so Java is a language, and similarly .NET is also a technology where we can develop using Visual Basics. Okay, there is like there's different languages that you can develop within the .NET. Okay, C# .NET we will say, and also VB.NET. So the traditional, the well-known is C# .NET. So in the .NET, you can develop the application. It is just like a form. Okay, let's say you have a form where you have resource names and dates and checkbox. So based on who is present, you just put tick marks or and then you update this into database on a daily basis. Okay, so that application I have developed, let's say in .NET, and I have hosted here. And now I put that in some PC, let's say in one of the team members' PC who manages the attendance. And now this person is able to access, update this data and access the reports also. Let's say I want to see the monthly report, so that also you can develop in the application, like whatever you want, right? And now this is still this is a two-tier architecture where you have the application, you have the database, and someone is managing that data by updating on a daily basis. And now I want this application to give access to the FLM, people managers and program managers. And how I will do this? Because this is running in my machine. Let's consider the database application, everything is running in my machine, and I want to give access to the management. So what I will do is, I'll make this as a three-tier application. So what I will do is, in the IBM Cloud, I'll have one database, and the same database I will create there, and I will also have an application server, like .NET you need the IIS. Okay, so that comes with Windows. So IIS is a application server that comes along with the along with the Windows OS, and then you also have a web layer. Okay, so in the Windows box, when you have IIS serves as both the application server as well as the web server. Okay, and here I'm the user. Okay, I interact with the web server, and the same program is deployed, whatever the application you have developed, and that application interacts with the database and it connects there. It gets the response back to the user. So now what I have done is, I have made it as a web application now. So I will say like teamattendance.com, some URL, okay, teamattendance.ibm.ibm cloud or something, okay. So that whoever hits that URL, that will take you to the program, okay. So there what I will do is, I will do some user management also, like I will have a login page, okay, and that login page takes you to the application, and application interacts to the database, and database gives the response back, and you give the response back to the browser. So it comes to the browser, that's where the user has access to the browser. So now just look at this attendance management. Initially you are managing this just using the Excel, which is like a 1 year, so it's everything is in that Excel, and then we got a requirement that Excel needs to be available to all the team members. Then we used that shared location and that PCB or box, and then I should be able to give access to all the team members. And now I wanted that to be if that Excel corrupts, what happened? So I wanted that to be stored into database, because that data is very critical. So that's where I made it as a two-tier application. I developed some application into the .NET and I have created the database, and that application updates into the database and retrieves the data as we have developed the application. And now I went further and I wanted to make this available over internet. So that's the three-tier architecture where I have introduced the web server using the .NET technology, which is IaaS. So IaaS serves both the application server and the web server. And the database, you anyways have it. So now this has enabled me to make it as an internet-based application, and I create the users, like whoever needs the access. Like if program managers or people managers needs the access, I can just give access to this. And whoever gets the access, they can hit that URL and they can log in, and they can view like the number of forms, like whatever, like they can update the data or they can review the data. And here I can do whatever is required for that application based on the user also. Like let's say I need different users. So one is like a normal user. So normal user can just view the data, right? And I have another user, like say admin. Admin can update the data, okay? And I have another user like manager. So manager has access to update and view as well, okay? So we can develop or we can fit into our different needs once we have that web application. So hope this has helped you from understanding like how the architecture of the applications have evolved, okay, from single tier into two tier and to three tier, which is a web application which is internet based, okay. And in the next session I am going to explain more on what is there in the web layer, like different softwares, what can be achieved using the web layer, and also the application layer. So what are the different application servers available, what are the different technologies we have, and how we can develop the application. We will not get into like how we develop the applications. Like let's say we have the application, we'll get an understanding of what are the different application servers we have, how we deploy into that, and that application, how it fits into the infrastructure, and then the database, okay. Right, so and then we'll look into the database. So this way you will get an understanding of the application architecture, how it integrates into the infrastructure, okay. We do most of the infrastructure projects and we just provision the servers like JBoss servers, the WebLogic servers, but we don't know like why the WebLogic server is needed for that team, why they request like multiple WebLogic servers for one application. So it all depends on like how heavily your application is used and what are the resources that application require, like the RAM and all the other resources. So first let's understand the application architecture, and then we'll have the application requirement at one side and our infrastructural needs and at one side, and then we just integrate. So that way we will have better understanding on what is that we are provisioning for the customer and how it is going to help them to fit into the application world, okay. So thanks everyone, thanks for watching this video. I'll connect with you again in the next session. Thank you.